Welcome back everyone to another video on World of Warship Legends. Today we will be taking a look at the legendary perk Equilibrium of Power. In the background here we have a game of domination on Estuary, rolling with the Cleveland Norm Scott as my commander. In this game I do not have Equilibrium of Power selected as a legendary skill, rather I decided to go with fully loaded. So what is Equilibrium Power? It's also known as IFHE. The text on the skill reads, increase the penetration of your cruiser's HE shells at the cost of lower damage and half the chance of your cruiser's HE shells starting a fire. Now this is a significant change. This skill was updated in the December 2020 update. Previously, the skill only reduced the fire chance by 2%. So taking a 2% hit versus taking a half of your total percentage is a major difference. I kind of wanted to take a look and see what that means practically throughout games. So what I did, I played 10 games. I shot nothing but HE in the Cleveland. I played 10 games with EoP, 10 games without EoP, and kept track of number of hits, damage done, fires set, to kind of get an idea of what the practical changes are and what we can expect out of this new basically usage of the perk. That is important to also note that EoP gives you 30% increased penetration but 16% less damage on all of your HE shells. But before we get into the practical results of the experiment, let's talk about penetration. When it comes to HE shell penetration, the way that you can determine what thickness of armor the HE shells will be able to penetrate is you take the diameter of the guns in millimeters and you divide that by 6. So with the Cleveland's guns, that has 152 millimeter guns, divided by 6 gives it a HE penetration value of 25.33 millimeters. Now in this first calculation, that is rounded. Since it is 25.33, that gets rounded down to 25 millimeters. In other words, any armor plate of 25 millimeters or thicker will shatter the Cleveland shells, while armor of 24 millimeters or thinner will be penetrated. Now that is only with HE shells. Now if you have EoP selected as your legendary skill, that gets changed. So what you do then is you take the 152 millimeter divided by 6, and then you take that number times 1.3. And that comes out to 32.5. Now on the second calculations, when you're including the multiplication of the EoP increased penetration, you do not round the second result. So 32.5 millimeter is what you come up with armor penetration with EoP. You cannot have a armor value of middle, so what'll happen then, if the armor is 32 millimeters or thinner, it will be penetrated. If it's 33 millimeters or thicker, then the HE shells will shatter. The other statistics that we need to keep in mind are the fire damage. Now, damage dealt by fires on a ship are 0.3% of the total health pool of the ship per second that the fire is active. Now that is per fire, so if there are multiple fires, then you're going to have 0.3% per fire. So then we got to take a look at ship individually. Battleships have a base fire duration of 60 seconds if they are not put out. Cruisers have 30 seconds, and then destroyers are also 30 seconds. So we got to keep that in mind also, because that will have a key component on whether it's more economical to use EoP and get the increased penetration but less fires, or if it's better to just continue using the standard non-EoP setup but get more fires on ships. So getting down to the results now, it's important to note that the fire chance that I'm going to note in both of these does not have any calculation as to negative effects that battleship or cruiser players that I'm shooting at might be running, such as German commanders have a lot of anti-fire perks. So this is just my raw offensive output. Taking a look first with EoP, I have 10 games, average hits of 220 hits per game. 5.5 fires, and average damage of 90,992 hit points. Now that rounds out to 2.66% fire chance. That's real fire chance over the course of all those games. And then average damage per hit, this isn't per penetration, per hit, of 426 points. Now taking a look without EoP, I had almost identical number of hits. I had 221 average hits per game, but average damage of 88,672, and then an average fire chance of 6.57%, and average damage per hit of 398 hit points. So that's a significant difference between with and without EoP. It comes out to just under 28 hit points difference per hit. You're going to get a lot more damage with EoP basically, but you're going to get a lot fewer fires. I was averaging 14 fires without EoP and only 6 or 5.5 with EoP. So then the question is it worth it to have battleships and other ships worrying about fires and having to use damage con? You could argue either way. Having the enemy ships burn their damage control with early, then having your friendly destroyers go up and torpedo them, maybe catch them flooding, all of a sudden it can certainly complicate things if their damage control is in cooldown. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. With EoP, you have an average damage per hit of 427 points with a real fire chance of 2.66%. Without EoP, you have average damage of 398 with a real fire chance of 6.57. After running this test, you could convince me that either way is better to run. If you're looking for just raw damage, EoP is certainly the way to go. If you're looking to cause some mayhem, maybe make battleship players feel uncomfortable by setting more fires, you can certainly run fully packed or another legendary perk other than EoP, and you can make a pretty good case that that's the right way to go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Which way do you prefer to run it? Which way do you think is the best to improve your win rate? Looking back at the game, you can see our team has done a fantastic job. Wiped out all but the remaining Cleveland and another destroyer. The destroyer ends up running. Ultimately, our team does get the win. If this is your first time watching the channel, please hit the subscribe button. We'll have a lot more Royal Warship videos coming your way shortly. If there are any other topics or ship lines you'd like to see covered, let me know those in the comments down below. We'll see you next time.